The Demethaniser column, weighing in at a massive 1,176 metric tons in weight and with a length of 75 meters, was transported by FTE in the month of November 2018. The column, which will form the center stage of the new processing facility at the Uthmaniyah gas plant, was the first super heavy equipment this long to be transported over 300 kilometers in the kingdom. FTE was contracted to perform this daring transport along with the transportation of 89 other heavy equipments for the new ethane deep recovery facility at the Uthmaniyah gas plant. The column was shipped from the vendor's fabrication shop in South Korea on the heavy lift vessel, namely Jumbo Fair Player. FTE worked in close coordination with the shipping agencies for placing its equipment and team for the port of discharge to avoid delays, as the vessel had sudden change in the ETA at the port of discharge. Permits were prepared for the mobilization of the trailers to Jubail. The trailers had to pass through the heavy haul path in the Royal Commission area of Jubail, which required 3 days to cover. FTE personnel worked around the clock to prepare their trailers for the mobilization, as it was rushed from another project site to Jubail. In coordination with the Royal Commission authorities, FTE mobilized the trailers to Jubail Industrial Port right in time for the discharge. The discharge was delayed due to the weather conditions as the wind speed rose above the permissible value. The discharge operations started in the short window forecasted as permissible by the port authority. The column was lifted by the 2 vessel cranes and the booms were extended to the quayside. Once the column was lifted over the quayside, the trailers were driven underneath the column. The front trailer was configured to 16-axle line 4-file configuration and the rear trailer to 12-axle line 4-file configuration. FTE was able to complete the discharge operation right in time before the wind speed rose again with heavy rains that followed in the area. The equipment was temporarily secured to the trailers and the trailers lowered to its minimal height. The securing operation started late noon the next day after the showers receded and a permissible wind foreseen. The second FTE team was busy with the discharging of the second unit of 340 metric tons from the vessel. Once the customs clearance formalities of the 2 equipment were completed, FTE started its maiden super heavy voyage. Once out of the port, FTE completed the remaining welding activities for securing the equipment to the trailer for a safer and secure transport. The column was driven to the first highway parking within 4 days after exiting from the port and crossing the heavy haul route in the Royal Commission area of Jubail, which comprised of crossing 3 main roads in the area. Again, weather turned its cards against the transport and heavy rainfall was foreseen for the next couple of weeks. The transport convoy remained parked in its first parking area for the next 12 days. After the long break of 12 days, the transport operations was commenced again. Straight away, FTE personnel were put to the test. The highway connecting the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the state of Kuwait was to be crossed. The convoy had to make a U-turn on the highway. Considering the length, FTE had engineered the solution for changing the driving direction on the highway. Once the highway was closed for the transport, FTE team drove the convoy to the highway. Once on the highway, the prime movers were disconnected from the trailers and coupled in the opposite direction. The driving direction was changed and the transport convoy entered onto the other side of the highway. To complete this entire operation of entering the other side of the highway, 18 lampposts had to be removed. The area between the 2 roads had to be backfilled and leveled. The sharp slopes on the ramps off the highways were carefully negotiated by the team. The entire highway was closed for an hour for the operation. The column was driven to the next parking location located 25 kilometers away. The operations was again halted due to heavy rains for the next 5 days. By the swift action of the FTE engineering team, the transport duration was reduced by 10 days. The road which was initially chosen for the transport was denied by the authorities as a new rail bridge was under construction. The permits were approved for another road which increased the distance by 112 kilometers and a lot of route modifications were to be done. During the transport, FTE team found that the rail bridge had not been installed by the authorities yet. Immediately, the needed permits were applied for and approved. The needed route modifications were performed. FTE team worked around the clock to cross this railway bridge before its installation. Right on time, FTE crossed the bridge area the day before the installation of the bridge was carried out. The next challenge that lay ahead was the Dammam-Riyadh highway, which had to be crossed. There was a sharp turning from this highway to enter the road, which connects the next highway. The turning posed another serious issue. The height difference in the turning was outside the trailer's stroke limits, and the turning area fell short. FTE engineering team rose to the occasion. A solution was made to backfill on top of the asphalt and extend the turning area using scaffold planks and steel plates. Permissions necessary for the modifications were obtained within 24 hours, and the modifications work were completed overnight. The trailer was driven from its parking area 14 kilometers away from the bridge to be crossed. The highway was again closed for the interchange of the lanes. The driving direction was reversed again and driven to the highway exit. The trailer was prepared for the most critical maneuver of the transport. The operations team were kept in close coordination with each other on their radios, and the trailer were moved through the turn. As the equipment started rotating on its turntables, the rear trailer was kept at the same height of the aft trailer to facilitate this movement. The three Titan prime movers provided the thrust for this movement. The turn was negotiated carefully by the team, a prime example of how detailed and well-coordinated planning can make things happen. 45 kilometers into the transport after this maneuver, the second most critical area was awaiting. A sharp slope in the transverse direction had to be made. The trailer levels were adjusted by hydraulically raising the hydraulic points in the trailer. The transport convoy entered the highway joining the project site. A bridge intersection joining the Riyadh highway posed a problem in this road. The transport convoy could not pass over this bridge. For this, the transport convoy exited the Harad highway through a prepared bypass road into the Riyadh highway. The convoy entered back into the Uphill Harad road by interchanging the directions again. Once the major obstacles were overcome, the column was transported smoothly over the remaining 25 kilometers to the project site, safely delivering the column to the project site.